Ryan, let's talk about Ahsoka.
Okay.
We're halfway through the season. Episode 4 dropped yesterday. No,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
a Tuesday show. I'm 2 days behind. God, I'm so out of touch. I'm so off because of the holiday.
Unforgivable.
Thank you. 4 episodes in of an 8-episode run. Disney's streaming woes aside and other things aside, we were both happy with the first 2 episodes.
Yes.
Because they weren't slow necessarily. They started with a bang. We had lightsaber fights and hallway battles and all kinds of good stuff. And I'm not. You might be all caught up on all of Clone Wars and Rebels.
I don't know that all.
You are much more into it than I am.
Sure.
I think I'm in season 3 of Clone Wars.
Okay,
I think is where I'm
at. I have seen all of them.
Okay. So I'm efforting that as we speak. However, I did not feel lost in a way that ruined those 2 episodes.
No,
I've heard Ezra Bridger. I don't know all of the verbs.
Well,
so, but I understand the broad strokes, so I was okay. It's like they'll come around to it.
You understand he's an important person in somebody's life.
Exactly.
And you don't know exactly what that complete relationship is necessarily from this, but you know that he was important and that, basically, and not important just like, I like them. It's like, no, capital I important and to being or whatnot. And so, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. So now we've had 2 more. We said we started good. We were happy.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see where it goes. We're now 2 more episodes in. We have much like Mando. We've discovered that the Empire isn't as dead as it probably should be.
Yeah.
Rot grows in the New Republic. And big plans are afoot. Centering around the missing Grand Admiral Thrawn. So 2 more episodes in. This one, we'll get to the end of episode 4. There will be minor spoilers when we get there, but probably not for anyone that's actually listening to this because you've probably already watched the episode twice. How are you, generally speaking, how are you feeling 4 episodes in?
Well, I think that what's clear is that this is not everything is going to be wrapped up in this series. I don't think in the next 4 episodes.
No.
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I like it, so give me more. Hopefully it's as good, but I do like it, but I do. I mean, I love Ahsoka as a character. And there are some times where I'm like, I don't know if I like Ahsoka as a grown-up as much as I like Ahsoka when she was,
when she was a precocious teen.
Yeah, I think I might like that version of her better, but she can't be that. Obviously, she has to be a little wiser and a little more seasoned and whatnot. But no, actually, there's a lot of stuff that happens in this last episode that I've been really hoping for, because I don't think there's certain things that have to be addressed.
You in terms of what?
There's the elephant in the room, which is she was, Anakin's Padawan.
Yes.
I mean, it gets brought up, but it's always kind of like, yeah, we know how that guy turned out. But, I guess, and what's funny is when you're watching Clone Wars, unfortunately, most of us know the trajectory that he's on. So it's hard to imagine how Ahsoka might have seen him and the importance and the role that he played in her life, and how now, he being what he's become, is something that's viewed in a completely different way by almost everybody but there's that part of her that still likes the guy, you know? Yeah, okay, yeah, he did some really horrific stuff, but we spent years together. You know, we fought side by side. There's just so I think her kind of having to face his legacy. Um, I think they've hit on that a little more in this one and in a couple ways, and will continue to do so. And that's where I'm interested to see where this one leads.
Yep. And it is weird because they could have just not addressed Anakin at all because she did leave. She was
Yeah, but
gone
I would hate that.
before the unpleasantness.
Sure, but I just, I mean, like I said, it's the elephant in the room. Oh, hey, yeah, you were the Padawan. You were his last Padawan. What'd you see? What's your story? You gonna turn? You a monster? You see he was a monster. You collaborate with him. What's going on? Anyway, there's approach. She's going to be approached differently
Whether
than
she, yeah,
another.
whether she wants to or not, whether she wants to deal
Yes,
with it or not, because that's going to be external. But really, I mean, aside from say, Ray Stevenson's character,
no.
who not many people, I mean, and he even says it, nobody knows really. Few know what Anakin became.
Well, because I think
So,
a lot of the people who knew him are dead.
well, yeah, obviously,
you know,
but
he
that
killed
knew
all
who
of
he
them.
was, and
Yeah,
or that knew
sure.
what he became. So it's not something that she goes around talking about. So
No.
it's going to be yeah. So coming from someone like Balin, that's going to hit, and it does in this episode. He hits her with it,
Yeah.
among
Yeah.
other things. Uh, and she has issues dealing with that, as is demonstrated in this episode.
And
Uh,
as she should.
as she should, because she did not go to therapy after she left the Jedi Order. So, and she did not work through her feelings, her conflicted emotions. So
Well,
yeah, so it's I generally speaking, I think there is a nice balance here between the action and the character moments. I think it might be tilted a little more to the deep, slow character moments right now. And I think
a bit. Yeah.
that's where a lot of people might have problems with it. They might want a little more action. But the action we get is great. We get 3 lightsaber fights here in
Yeah.
this
Well,
episode.
we've had space battles. We've had, I mean, a little bit of everything that is,
We've had space
classic Star
whales,
Wars. Yes, we got those as
the
well. You
Persils.
know, oh, have they been to a bar? Have they been to a bar?
They have
'Cause
not been to a bar.
every Star Wars film or story ends up at a bar at some point.
At some point,
Uh,
yeah.
so
Um,
maybe they're still going to work that in.
yeah, we get the well, it's already a Mandalorian crossover, but the X-wing pilot whose name escapes me
Yeah,
for a moment, the old guy, he pops up in episode 4. Captain, what's his name?
he's
But yeah, so I mean,
the traffic cop guy.
the glorified captain traffic cop. Um, but yeah, so the beat cop, if you will, he's
Yeah,
always patrolling. He's always on patrol. Uh, but uh, but yeah, so it's interesting to have a lot of those little moments. But again, I love. I said after the first 2 episodes, it feels like classic Star Wars. Filoni's trying to make this, and the directors I think have cottoned on to his various or his thing. There's the feel of it is right. The look of it, the angles, the sets, a lot of the movements. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, it's aping or something of the original trilogy," but it's like, but that's what we liked about the original trilogy. Now there are
sure.
parts of it, even George Lucas, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme.
Yeah,
So that's what everything is cyclical. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that feel similar to things that have already happened. Uh, And they do, and you see them, and if you want to obsess about them, I guess you could get yourself all worked up. But
I don't think I don't think there's any. I mean,
I'm not. But
I would.
I know
I mean,
people
this
that
could.
do. But hey, look, if you enjoy what you're seeing and hearing on the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, why not take a second to click subscribe if you're on YouTube, click follow wherever you're listening to us. Follow us on Twitter at VS Movie Podcast. Same over on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, it's Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. That would be awesome for us. We appreciate you listening. And now let's get back to the show.
In a strange way, George Lucas always envisioned Star Wars as being like the short films that he saw before movies, the
Yeah.
serials. And so, in a way, this is actually more accurate to what George wanted than the films actually were.
Right.
He was always, talking about, I want to do a TV series. I want to do a TV series. It's just too expensive. Once it gets cheap enough, we'll do a TV series. I mean, that was something that you heard a lot, at least in the after the
Yeah.
prequels, where it was like, yeah, we want to branch out and do literally something that is more like a serial, and so I think I think they're true to the spirit more so than some other projects have been.
Yeah. So so far so good. That's
Yeah,
where
I
I'm
mean,
at. I'm
well,
at so far so good.
sure, and there's certain things, and again, certain characters make decisions in this, or
Mhm.
seem to make decisions that you're like, oh, what the hell are you doing? Um,
Yeah, I did not. I was not a fan of
but
that episode 4 decision.
but with that said, we don't know how this plays out. We don't know really what that moment means until we see where the story goes.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people who might be upset with, that's not, this character would never. And it's like, well, I know we like ownership over characters and never want them to make bad decisions or questionable decisions. But I mean, look at the world around you. A lot of people make bad decisions at some point.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of, okay, so now that you've made the bad choice, what you going to do with it? How are you going to fix it? Or are you going to go with it? I mean, what are you going to be now? Who are you? And I think there's a who are you question in this episode that I think is pretty compelling. But again, we'll see where that goes. I'm not going to, be. I guess you get emotionally involved with characters,
Right.
and you would like them to do certain things. You'd like them to always behave in a certain way, and so when they don't, it maybe, I guess, makes you think, well, was that them all along, or who did they become something else? How did they get to it? But that's kind of the interesting part of character development,
Yeah.
is they do evolve and they do go in other directions than I'm sure that I'm not exactly the son my mother wanted, but that doesn't mean I'm not the son she wanted, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
So anyway.
In terms of episode 5, I don't know how this show's in a weird spot right now, because right now
Absolutely.
Ahsoka is isolated
Yes.
from
Well,
like the narrative.
from everything.
So it's like, are we going to have an episode of Ahsoka that's the episode of Boba Fett that does not have Boba Fett?
Yeah, I don't know, and it's possible. I mean, she's kind of stuck at the what is it, the train station of the Matrix or Harry Potter or what,
Right. Yeah.
the kind of the in between. You're not really supposed to stay there. You're supposed to go one way or another, sort of situation. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's just see where it goes. That's how I feel about it. I mean, I was,
Yeah.
it ended, and I was like, oh, come on.
Well, you
You
knew that's
can't.
how. Once it
Well, of
got to
course,
that, you knew it was
of
that.
course,
Okay.
of
There's a
course.
reveal and we're done.
Yeah, and it's like, but come on. Yeah, but that's not a bad thing.
And
Um,
am I crazy? Did So spoiler alert. Hayden Christensen is in this episode.
Mm.
Did he not look right? Did
He
they
looked weird,
de-age
man.
him
Yes, they
badly?
de-aged him, but I'm not sure. I need to see how that plays out because I'm not even entirely sure if that's Anakin Skywalker or at what who that or what at what point in his life that is or who I think there's and a lot of these questions kind of come up with the some of the Return of the Jedi stuff where okay so at some point he's redeemed and so where does this place without time or whatever
Yeah.
which version of the character is he? Is it really him? Or is it? I mean, you know,
Is it a
lots
him
of.
that might have been? I don't know. But
Is it a
it
doppel?
looked
Is it
off.
Well, it could be a doppelganger, but yeah, he's got a sort of glimmer and smoothness to him that that
Weird.
a little weird,
Little
but
weird. But
if
no,
they
so unlike some people, we're okay.
uh so far, I
Yeah,
mean,
so far.
like I said, I mean, I've enjoyed it a lot. Um, Again, a lot of that comes from the enjoying Rebels and Clone Wars and
No,
whatnot.
working on
I know, but but that I mean, this is the natural progression to those stories. This is, um, I don't, I'm just interested. It's a space that really hasn't been too defined because obviously, um, I don't know how it all turns out. I just know that Ahsoka wasn't in the last three films.
right.
Um, and we've thought I won't go into that about the Ahsoka lives and things, but it's who knows where this is going to go, and I kind of like that not knowing.
Yeah.
There is the familiarity of some of the characters and some of the world, but I kind of like not knowing where this character ends up or how this turns out.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is probably as far from the Skywalker saga as we can get while still being tangentially the Skywalker saga.
yeah,
So it is walking a weird line. But I'm okay with it. Mando was just isolated. It was cut off. So I don't
yeah,
know if that was part of the reason people liked those early seasons so much. But this one is this is straddling the fence. So I think it's got a tougher row to hoe than than Mando did
yeah,
because it is intrinsically involved with quote unquote canon.
yeah. Well, and I think that what people didn't like about season three of The Mandalorian was stuff that they had to do. You can't say you're going to do a, reclaim Mandalore and then forget about it.
Right.
And I think what's going to happen, and we'll see if this is right, but they will have, again, the Mandalorian going to a kind of a cutoff space where he is kind of just the Western sheriff, or the cowboy riding through town and solving problems.
Kung
Um,
fu.
Whatever, whatever, and then they can have another film or another series or whatever that's more about the stuff that maybe people didn't like nearly as much. I guess
Right.
well, I don't, the war and the religious stuff and
Mhm.
whatever. Um, so I think ultimately people are going to be okay with what they've done, and I think they had to do what they had to do
Yeah.
because you can't say this is our objective and then ignore it. In fact, that might be what has held back some of these series on for Marvel and Disney on TV, is that they has an objective, but it just kind of spins in circles and doesn't go after it.
Until the last episode and a half.
Yeah, and so
Yeah. So there you go. So okay, so we'll check back with Ahsoka in another episode or two, and see how this continues to unspool. But like I said, we're so far so good. So
yeah.
yay, Ahsoka. There we go. Don't forget to like us, follow us, clickety click, click, click. You know how that works. Wherever you're at, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, you know what to do. And tell us how we're doing. And tell us that we're totally right about everything we
totally
talk about.
wrong.
Or totally wrong.
Totally
And then explain why. You can't just say we're wrong and not tell us why. You have to bring receipts, if you will.
I am perfectly comfortable in being wrong.
Oh, I am too, as long as you can tell me why. You can't just say you're wrong.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say why I'm wrong. So there you go. Till we talk to y'all again, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you, friends.
And we'll talk to y'all later.